All right, let's jump right into part one, Michigan's one-of-a-kind system. And the number one takeaway here is simple. Forget everything you've ever heard about getting a personal guard card. Just toss that idea out the window.
It all comes down to this one law, Public Act 330 from way back in 1968. This is the key to everything. What it says is that you don't get a personal license from the state. Instead, you work under the license of the security company that hires you. This is amazing news for you because it means your employer is the one who handles all that state-level paperwork.
Okay, so before you start firing off applications, let's do a quick check to make sure you actually meet the baseline requirements. Think of this as your personal, am I good to go, checklist.
There are really just four big ones, and they're non-negotiable. You've got to be at least 18. You need to be legally authorized to work in the U.S. You need a clean criminal record, and they're definitely looking out for recent felonies. And finally, you need a high school diploma or a GED. If you can check all four of those boxes, you're ready for the next step.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Section 3. How do you actually go from being just an applicant to a registered security officer who's ready to take on a post?
The whole thing is driven by your employer, and it breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, the company you get hired by will train you. Second, they'll run you through a background check, which will probably include fingerprinting. And third, they will register you with LARA. That's the state's licensing department. The key thing to remember is they guide you through this entire process. You're not on your own. And to pull back the curtain on that background check just a little bit, employers in Michigan almost always use the state police's iChat system. It stands for Internet Criminal History Access Tool. You don't really need to worry about the details. Your potential employer will give you all the instructions you need for this part.
Okay, let's talk about the part everyone's curious about, the money. What can you actually expect to see on your paycheck as a security guard in Michigan?
Well, according to the latest numbers from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the statewide average wage is sitting right around $18.33 an hour. To put that in perspective, that's just over $38,000 a year. So that's a really solid baseline to start from.
But of course, location matters. A lot. That 1833 is just the average for the whole state. If you're working in a major city like Detroit or Grand Rapids, you can generally expect to see a higher hourly wage than you would in some of the more rural parts of the state.
And hey, you're not just stuck at that starting wage. You can absolutely take steps to boost your pay. Getting extra certifications, like for CPR or first aid, or even developing some supervisory skills, that all makes you way more valuable and can open up doors to higher paying roles. Okay, last section. Once you're hired and on the job, what does it take to be successful? Well, it really just comes down to understanding what your responsibilities are versus what your employer takes care of.
And it's super simple. Your job is the day-to-day stuff. Always have your company ID on you, follow the rules, keep your info up to date. Your employer, on the other hand, handles all the bureaucracy. They do the state filings, manage the renewals, all that compliance stuff. If you decide to switch companies, your new employer just adds you to their roster. It's a really clean system that lets you focus on your actual job.
And to help you get started on the right foot, we've dropped some really great resources for you in the description below. There's a downloadable checklist that covers every single step, a link to an online community where you can connect with other guards, and even some study guides to help you really stand out.
So that's pretty much the Michigan system in a nutshell. You find a licensed agency, you get hired, and you let them handle all the state paperwork. You've got the complete roadmap right here. The only question left is, are you ready for your first shift?